So I was thinking about this week, I always kind of have a theme. And I was doing my yoga this morning, which is often where the theme comes from, um, is my own life or what have you. But nothing was coming to me. And so when that happens, which is, every probably few months or so, I'm like, Jason, what should I focus on in yoga this week? And he was kind of quiet. Sometimes he comes right back. I'm like, geez, okay, I guess you were thinking about that. He sort of thought about it for a little bit. And he said, one quality thing. I was like, oh, so we should do one quality thing each day, for the focus. Like, is it a physical thing? Is, like physically do a quality thing? Is it more of like a habit, like a lifestyle habit? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, okay, all right. And so actually I was noodling on that the rest of the morning. And then I was here setting up and I don't know what triggered. Oh, I know. It was a conversation I had just actually had with a friend and colleague this morning about sleep and how it changes during, when you start getting the longer daylight hours, there's all of that. And it can be challenging for us to get ourselves to go to sleep at a more reasonable hour because we'll like stay working, we'll get done with our job. Jason will sign off on his computer from work and then go out mowing for 3 hours and I'm doing things before you know it. I'm like, hon, it's 9. Should we have dinner? And then, if you're waking up with the light at 6 a.m. So yes.
With the burger, it's
3 o'clock. 3 a.m. wake up call. Yeah, the Sandhill cranes kind of get exciting around 4 o'clock where we live. Yeah. And so what I decided was the thing that I'm focusing on for me, because it's so important and because we're actually having some successes. We're drinking less wine like later into the evening, which we know those sugars can really disrupt sleep the older you get, especially. So I'm having some successes, but I'm also aware of the seasonal challenges that start for us right around now. So it's often on my mind. And so you don't have to take this as your focus of quality, but I know that this is an issue for a lot of people and the quality of sleep, it ends up being the kind of foundation and underpinnings of so much of our mood, of how we interact with people. If we have a goal of being kind, of being patient, that can often get just undermined by being not well rested. If we have a goal of reducing inflammation or healing or losing weight, that can be undermined by not having sufficient sleep of good quality. So I really feel like it's something that is worth our attention, not just this week, I'm making it the theme, but forever. And I find that, again, the challenges around sleep continue to change and evolve. So we want to continue to kind of circle back and ask, how am I sleeping? If I'm being disrupted or I'm not feeling rested, what are the contributing factors? Is it that, late night phone scrolling? What might it be? Just lights, sometimes it's just needing to turn off, like I have an alarm clock that I can turn off the display. And that makes a huge difference. Just that little glow is sometimes enough to keep me from going back to sleep, in particular, if I wake up in the middle of the night to go pee or, whatever. So I'm putting that out there. I have heard from people over the years that some of the things from yoga that really help contribute to quality sleep for them. One is just physically doing yoga, getting the tension of of life out. For some people, doing it right before sleep, like in the evening, can actually be problematic. Like if you're doing something vigorous, right? Any kind of athletic vigorous could disrupt your sleep in the evening. But if you do a really good workout and good use of your body, not just work your body all to hell out in the garden and then you're sore and achy, you probably won't sleep real well, but the kind of things we do in yoga. And it might be even just doing, a 5-minute at the end of your garden day that helps unwind some of those things, right? Put the block under the sacral triangle, do a little yoga mudra, love up your neck, whatever it might be. That might be the critical piece to being able to rest well. But I want to remind you of some other things. Magnesium as a muscle relaxant a couple hours before bed. Lots of people having great success with that. Breath techniques, if you have a hard time falling to sleep, but more importantly, a lot of people I hear wake up in the night and then can't go back to sleep. And a lot of you have shared that some of your favorites are using the breath locks. the 4-6-8 breath, the box breath. Now, what I will point out about all of those is they all contain a breath lock. And I do think breath locks are a wonderful way to kind of almost meditatively slow our nervous system down. Having said that, they can also create a little bit of tension. And so often if I'm trying to fall back asleep, instead of doing, say, the 4-6-8 breath, which is inhaling to the count of 4, holding in to the count of 6, and releasing over the count of 8, I might skip that breath lock and just do inhaling 4, exhaling 8. Because that, by the way, is one of the critical kind of formulas for taking our system out of stress into more of that bliss and relax and rest and digest state, is having an exhale that's twice as long as the inhale. And so I just find that is more consistently productive for me if I'm trying to get back into a restful state. But I've had plenty of other people say, you know, they're good with the breath block. So encouraging you to try that out. Another wonderful thing is just practicing tightening and releasing. Sometimes we're just so sort of chronically engaged. And if you lay down and you're like, okay, it's time. And you may have a hard time really letting go. Your muscle tissues are kind of programmed of like, So engaging, basically rock pose, even scrunching up the face and then softening and scrunching and softening. I've had many people say that that was key for them to be able to go into a sleep state more quickly. Stretch like a cat. Yeah, do all kinds of things, any of that. Yeah. Any specific tools that you've got going on? First of all, I'm curious, how many of you really have quality sleep as a focus? Like it's something that you work for, you think about, you prioritize. Yeah, so about half. It's your superpower is being so you can sleep anywhere, anytime. So you don't necessarily have to work at it like some people do. Aha, sleep is a superpower. Yeah, yeah.
Is the box breath 4-4-4?
The box breath, yep, is for inhaling 4, holding in 4, exhaling 4, holding out 4. Correct. Yep. And that 4 is however long it is for you. You want it to be, in a sense, it takes for me a few rounds to find that more natural rhythm where I'm not breathing too fast or too slow. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Any favorite things? I know some people use music or white noise. 6 ounces of tart cherry juice. Just
That's really different.
And tell us more. What does the cherry juice do?
It causes me to go to sleep faster.
You go to sleep more quickly. Okay.
And usually, not always, go back to sleep. It's something similar to
Melatonin, bioflavonoids, who knows? We'll just throw some big words at it and be like, yeah, that. But that's really cool. And you just do it straight?
And just 6 ounces.
6 ounces. Yeah, to go to the bathroom. Understood. Very cool. I want to share one other weird little side tool that for me is really key. And I have a feeling it could be effective for a lot of people if they tried it. And the reason I have this feeling is that when I put people on my massage table, well, they put themselves, but you know what I mean. And when they're on their back, I will often place a pillow under their neck and their head. And it's this really squishy down pillow. And I basically use the same pillow. I'm mostly a back and side sleeper. So when I'm on my back, it's just flat. When I go to my side, I kind of have to double it up. Yeah, smoosh it up. But because it's very squishy, it kind of fills the space in underneath my neck, but without pushing my head forward. As soon as you push your head forward or up when you're laying down, there is a pull on that whole back line. And what we really want is the spinal cord to go into a state of non-tension, right? I mean, that's where all your nerves innervate, your vagus nerve and all of that. This is really key. So we want to find as much spine neutral as we can, give a little support here. And I think this is part of the key that people are always like, what heaven is this pillow? I just kind of squish it like in around their ears. So it gives you a little bit of a like white noise with your own breath. And it gives a little support for the side of the neck. And so everything about it is like, just rest. So I recommend checking it out. If you can find a really low fill down pillow, give it a try, and I can bring mine to class one day if you'd like. Bark.
I take my mouth shut.
The mouth taping. Yeah, I know a number of people who've worked with mouth taping.
And like, if you. It's right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. So it keeps you from having dry mouth, waking in the night. I know some people have said too that they snore less, and so on. That's forces you to nose breathe, which we know overall is so much better for your health. The science on that is so cool. That book, was it just Breathe by not Malcolm Gladwell, James Nestor. Yeah. What's the name of the book, Kathleen? Breathe. Is just Breathe. James Nestor is the author. That book is, first of all, a really fun read. It's a great story. Yeah, he's a great storyteller, but there's also some serious science in there that is just fantastic. So definitely check that out.
No, that's tape, it's like paper tape.
Yeah, it's just a paper tape. You're not using duct tape.
Oh.
Although you'd get a real cheap, like, mustache wax. We always have so much fun here. All right, I'm gonna sign off of the video for now, and we're gonna get into our physical practice.
Oh, okay.
All right, let me see if I can. Come on now. Well, I might not be able to turn off. All right, we're just gonna keep filming, so be it. Welcome, Tracy. Glad you can be here. We've had a great conversation about prioritizing sleep. All right, and now I will quiet the wild things in here. All right, folks, we are gonna, well, just all the conversation for these guys on here. I'm like, it probably sounds like we're having a party here. So we're gonna start off on our back body. We're gonna start off in spine neutral, which is what we've just been talking about. Yeah, and it's great. I already saw one person do this. This is something when I do when I'm settling in for bed or even my nap, is take your feet wider than the hips. Just give those muscles that hold the leg bone to the hip bone a little chance to relax. The IT bands, when your feet are in normal alignment, if you will, or neutral alignment with the hips, these outer parts of the leg and hips have to be kind of engaged or tight. Now you're inviting them to go into a softer state. And let's just start with pointing and flexing through the feet. We're going to be doing this for a little bit. This is again, a really great way to talk to the spine and really the whole line, right? Whole posterior chain, working through that Achilles tendon, your calf muscles. And some people are noticing already, like, oh, it would feel really good to roll those ankles. Yeah. And then when you feel ready, I'm going to have you very intentionally just point, flex, point, flex, point, flex. And I want you to just scan and notice what's happening in the back body. As you do that, we're going to also come into a few sighing breaths. So inhaling slow, deep, wide. Oh, you guys sound so good. Love hanging out with people who know how to relax. And at some point, when you feel like, okay, that's enough with the legs, you'll just soften. Maybe do one more rolling out of the ankles. Right, and then we're going to do just a little movement of the head, side to side, up and down. Remember, when you're bringing the chin in towards the throat, you're just leaving the head on the floor. And bringing the chin firmly up and away from the throat. So again, we're kind of talking to those muscles that get chronically tight, and we're helping them get tighter and loosen as a result. When you feel complete with that, let's please tune in 3 points of introversion. Turning your gaze up and in towards that third eye. Lightly connecting the tip of the tongue with the roof of the mouth. And finding your soft ujjayi breath, great sounding. This is a marvelous white noise for your mind. It also helps take the breath into a place that uses oxygen more efficiently. So it's great for athleticism. It's also great for creating, again, a state of relaxation. The body just feels nourished, safe here. It's getting everything that it needs. Throughout our practice, I hope you will continue to make adjustments to your positioning if I'm suggesting anything that builds tension for your system. I want you to just notice for a moment what is happening in your mouth. I suggest a tip of the tongue behind the front teeth. What else is happening? We'd love for there to be space between the upper and lower molars. The whole base of the tongue and throat area really soft. And what would happen if you added just the softest smile, the most delicate smile? So this is one very subtle way that we can message to the body and being, I am whole, I am well, I am safe. Non-striving, there is nothing to accomplish. So this might be helpful whether you're trying to lay down for that little nap reboot or at the end of the day for a deep night's rest. Body positioning makes the difference. All right. So with all of this deep attention, the next few breaths, we're going to simply watch the inhale and exhale and watch for the gap with a pause in between. Inhaling, is there more? Exhaling, is there more? Where do you feel the breath touching your fabric, moving against your skin? This is a marvelous way to train the brain to be tethered to the body and body sensation versus splitting off somewhere. So every time your brain wanders, turn back to body sensation, breath, attention. Remaining relaxed in your neck, your mouth, your face. We're going to now come into some rock pose and compression breathing. Right, so we're going to be creating a lot of vigor in the muscular body, but without the shoulder, neck, face area. Although I do invite you at some point to scrunch up the face and someone just like, whoa. So let's actually start with, we're going to do some arm sweeping overhead. So water bottle alert. Inhaling, sweep the arms up above the head. Is there more? You can also enjoy a little reach through one arm more than the other. Exhaling, belly to spine, arms come down. Spine progressively anchors towards floor as we create that rock pose and compression. Exhale. Emptying hands and fists, flexing or curling the feet. Scrunching up the face if you'd like to. Emptying till there's nothing left. Soften and allow. Maybe you just relax the body as you inhale, or if you enjoy that reach overhead, please do. You might add to that rolling of the wrists and so on. Oh, and often a yawn will emerge. On your exhale, compression, rock pose. You can make the hands into fists. You can also spread the fingers wide, which might feel amazing. You've been doing a lot of gripping, gardening. And you can also add a little sit-up motion. Is there more? Is there more? So again, drawing your attention to your tongue, which for some of us will automatically sandwich against the roof of the mouth when we're trying to do powerful engagement with the body. If that is you, please know that you probably do this a lot in life off of the yoga mat. And changing that could really transform how well you sleep, the main thing we've been talking about, but mood, TMJ stuff, back of the neck, skull connection, tension, all those things. Let's do one more. Big breath and big rock pose with or without a setup, up to you. And the next time you do inhale, let's all reach arms overhead. And once again, just organically stretching, pointing, flexing, rolling through hands and feet. Ooh, yeah. And then let's clasp one wrist and draw long upon it. If you like, so I'm using my right hand to grab left fist. I'm taking them to the right. You could bring your feet to the right as well, so you're making a little banana shape. Feet flex, that will give you that lovely side body stretch. Let's find the other side. Breathing into the tight places is one of the main things that transforms us. So don't hold back, don't hurry those inhales. Returning to center, we'll clasp the right knee into the belly, release big toes. Use your power to really try to get that right thigh as close to the abdomen as you can. And vigorously reach the left leg away. Check in, make sure there's nothing tightening that shouldn't be. I'm going to give you a little invitation here to get into our first hip stretch. This is not always great for everybody, but if you can, take your left hand, get a hold of your right foot, and see if you can just bring it a little by your left hip bone. It's kind of like a reclined pigeon without the other leg being involved. And you can take the knee across towards the center body a little. So if I use my right hand and press it, nice deep breath. You can also then take it a little out to the right. Nice. And then staying anchored in that left leg, I'm going to take my right elbow to the floor and bring my right knee out into it. So I'm opening into like a half straddle, but with that left leg anchored along the floor still. Yeah. Maybe you can even use a little pressure from the hand to bring the leg higher up. Deep breath. Hello, hamstrings. Ooh, doggy. All right. We're going to switch and bring the left to the belly. Release in pose. Shoulder heads anchor, no wings, no shrugs. Big belly breath that meets the thigh. And at some point, option to clasp the foot with the right hand, drawing towards the body and then sending a little towards the center line. Again, if you're a chronic neck tightener, maybe roll the head side to side, play organically with that position of the hip and knee until you feel ready to place your left elbow and upper arm as support for that left leg. Yeah. Is this leg different? What's the tension like in the backs of the legs today? And then bringing back to our center, we're going to come into bridge pose with both legs, with or without the block, you choose. Upper arms anchored. Inhaling slow, deep and wide, as if that's all you ever do. Exhaling, belly to spine. Raise those hips. Is there more? And inhaling to send one rib at a time. Again, chronic neck tighteners, beware. You might tighten your neck to try and control the descent of your hips. Try not to. Do something else. Use the butt instead. It's built for that. Again, if for me, and I think this is for a lot of people, if I get that soft smile and that spaciousness in the mouth, I'm actually much less likely to use the neck. It takes me out of striving mode. See if that's true for you. We're going to do just a couple more. Remember, squeeze that imaginary walk. You guys, great. All right, next time up, we're heading into that foot hover, which will really wake up the back line. So make sure your feet are close enough, right? So you come into bridge, you don't have to go all the way to your highest bridge, and you're just gonna lift one foot off the floor hovering. And my hope is you can hold, and you can talk to the butt and leg, the standing one, and get them to invigorate. And then switch. And so this is a really helpful tool for making us have more equal strength and vibrancy on right and left. But it's also a great place kind of diagnostically for us to notice if we're really uneven. And this is critical because if we're moving around throughout the day, whether it's gardening or cycling or whatever it is you might be doing, if that back body isn't firing equally, it's going to create so much tension and stress throughout the rest of the body. And that's the stress puddle that we're going to meet when we go to bed at night. So we want the right stuff working for us. When that's done, you might bring knees to belly. You could become wide for happy baby. Please tune in, notice what your system wants. All right, we're now going to come into our horse riding stance. So take those feet wide. Just a brief expression, raising the hips up. And then we're going to take one knee at a time down towards the center line. So I'm going to take that right knee and let it settle towards the floor. Roll. Nope, come back down to the body. You got it. Thank you for asking. So the body's back on the floor. And you're just moving one knee at a time towards the center line. Very curious again. To what extent do you feel even? Is there a very particular sensation or pull on one side? We're going to then walk the soles of the feet together in butterfly. And you might just breathe and settle for a moment. I like to work my shoulder blades in and down, check and lift my chin so that neck curve is beautiful and soft back there. Seeking the ah. And as you're ready, raise the hips just a little off the floor. Doesn't take much. We're going to hang out here for about a minute. We want to be feeling that deep inner thigh, groin, low glute, kind of our powerhouse for core. Soles of the feet touching. Soft face. Watching our breath wave rise and settle, finding the gap between. We'll be here for another 30 seconds. If you sense that's not great for your body, please come down. It's one of our challenges for resting, sleeping, is that our body is so tight and sore at the end of the day. Again, it's really key that we wake up the muscles that are designed to move us through space, to lift and carry, so that the other ones are not in striving. So when you come down and then just lengthen your legs, maybe corpse pose or a little wider, I just want you to assess, maybe roll the head side to side. How much striving is going on in there? And actually, let's do our lion stretch so we can check in with that jaw space. Big inhale, slow, deep and wide. Exhale, open the jaw. Inhaling, slow, deep and wide. Big lion stretch when it comes. You might stick the tongue out. You can draw back towards the base of the tongue. Yeah, you can make claws. When I'm making claws, I make a special point of bringing those elbows in and squeezing the shoulder blades sort of the spine. Last time. When you're complete, you might swallow. You can take your hands back to the base of the skull. Notice what's needed there. All right. You're ready to move on. Please join me. We're going to come on to hands and knees. We're going to work into some shoulder kind of lubrication and release stuff, chest opening, because again, I think this is a huge part of our body, being able to feel neutral, comfortable, and to go into rest, but also to use our body properly throughout the day. So first we're going to do like what I call kind of a half puppy. And when we're doing half puppy, I just keep whatever hand isn't moving, I keep it on the hand. And I mention that because I see a lot of people come down onto their forearm. And instead, I want to challenge you to just play and see what it's like to stay on that hand. So we'll stay left hand where it is. I'm gonna bend my elbows and let myself then reach my right hand forward. Then I'm gonna try and settle my forehead towards the floor. You can also bring your left hand back a little bit if you feel it's forward enough that it's kind of bringing your left shoulder forward, because what I want is an anchored left shoulder. So your butt stays up, yep, and then head comes down. And I'm hoping you're now receiving a good stretch through that right armpit shoulder area. And you can breathe and play with swinging a little out to the right. So you're kind of rotating a little towards the right temple or eyebrow. And back again. And when you're ready to come out, nice core support, belly to spine. Good. So again, if your stabilizing hand, which in this case will be the right one, is too far forward, your right shoulder won't feel very stable or protected. And I really want it to be no biggies, no trucks, right? So as you're ready now, hinging at the hips, lean that butt back, bend the elbows, and reach your left hand forward, half puppy. Breathing and noticing. And would it feel more stable if you brought your right hand further back? So that you are not on the forearm. So some of you've got your whole right forearm on the floor, which by the way, if this just feels great too, and you want it to that way, it's okay. You're more likely to not be stable in the shoulder if we're just sort of relaxed with it. I want to have a little more activity. All right, nice exhale, come on up, cat back. We're gonna go right into cow cat. Inhale, cow pose, tailbone draws back, heart draws forward. Exhaling, tuck tailbone. Good. I'm hearing some nice ujjayi. Please tune into your breath. Asking, is there more? We're going to do a little thread the needle. Now, some people love thread the needle in our table pose. You can go in and out, inhale and sweep the arm up and come down. I feel like I just get a better stretch doing it in puppy. So I mean in child's pose, excuse me. So I take my knees wide, get my butt all the way back, and I come down like so. And then I just lift up just enough to weave one arm under. And then I'll sometimes take that other hand and clasp the wrist and pull it away. What I'm finding is that really in any version of these, you can do standing as well. If you breathe deeply, you might be able to get almost like a little massage around the shoulder blade. And remember, the breath is the kingmaster here. When you're ready with a nice core support, come out and we'll explore the other side. Again, you could be doing a standing version as well. I love the standing version because you can, of course, bust it out, you know, waiting in line and things like that. You don't have to be on your yoga mat. So again, the other arm goes underneath you if you're in one of the floor versions. And what's exciting on this side? Can you find something with the breath? It's that usually that like last 10% of inhale that will bring us to our edge. Yeah, I always call it the treasure hunter. It's the change agent. When you're complete, come on out. We'll go to cow cat to downward facing dog before we do a shoulder release exercise that I've got for you. We haven't done it together in quite a while. So let's go to our first downward facing dog of the day. Intelligent hand, fingers spread wide. Please think about anchoring through that inner line of the hand, the pad of the thumb and the index finger. So your weight is not rolling out to the outer wrist pad area by the pinky. Good. Pedaling, really stretching through that front line as you press one heel towards the floor and then the other. Yeah, if you get, if you really want to bend one knee, you can even send your hip a little to the side So if I bend my right knee, I can wag my hips to the right and work my left heel towards the floor. And same is true, I can bend my left knee and wag my hips left. Let that right heel move towards the floor. We really want a really dependent calf experience that's springy. If it just feels like, and you get there and there's nothing, that's an area we want to focus on. All right, we're coming on down to our hands and knees again. And if you need a little wrist break, give it some love. We're actually mostly coming off of our wrist. We're doing that tractioning move that helps release fascia in and around the shoulder. And I remind you, of course, this is not the shoulder, right? We always go like this. It's the stuff in the front, the stuff in the back, and most importantly, I would say it's all of these through the lats and teres minor, and there's all this stuff right here that really impacts how healthy and happy our shoulders are. And so I want to help you find an edge. So we'll work together. So starting in table, one of the key pieces is making sure you have enough space between your hands and your knees. If your hands are actually kind of too close to your knees, you won't get this stretch and you just adjust. Core support, I want you to be in your core. It's as if you could clap. Then you're going to come down onto one forearm. You could send just an inch towards the center line from your kind of normal position there. Take a long inhale and you're going to start pressing down through your forearm and going back. You're not moving it, but you're tractioning isometrically. And on the exhale, with that tractioning, you're going to send your hips back towards the heels. And then you'll inhale, return to that starting position. We'll do about 5 or 6 on this side. Exhale and traction and draw back. Make sure you're breathing. Make sure you're in your core. You'll get a better stretch with that. And if you're not getting anything, try moving your elbow forward an inch or 2 or 3, depending if you have kind of an acute position. Julie, yours looked acute. Lisa, yours still does look acute to me. So you think, Penny, are you getting anything? Yeah. Okay. Good. Is there anyone who's not getting something? What's that? You got that? Yay. Yeah, and so after 5 or 6, you can switch. One of the things though I often do, I forget to tell you, is I like to hold back in that furthest back position, tractioning, and take a big inhale in that position. And I can often bring in a stretch somewhere new. And I know it's challenging, again, to create power for that tractioning without tightening the neck, the jaw. So just be really thoughtful about it. Do your best. All right. If you haven't already switched on the other side, and is there anybody not finding it? Anybody surprised by what they're finding? Right. We're going to be coming on to our bellies and doing yoga mudra there. If you don't like that version, come on up to standing. If you need a strap or a scarf or something, you could grab it before you head down or let me know and I'll run one to you. Because sometimes if we've just got our hands happening, we might get the arms straight, but we might not be able to get them off the butt at all. And it really can make a difference. So very slowly work your way into this. Make sure the shoulder head is circling down the back, that you're getting a shoulder blade sandwich as you go to straighten those arms. And I mean straight. There should be an elbow click. If you're not sure, bend your elbows a little bit and then press further through the fist and get that click. Nice. And press that hand up off of the belt, the back. Facing, that's up. Say, if you ever feel a pull right at the front of the joint of the shoulder, then you either need to change how you're doing it or it's not a great exercise for you right now, because this is pulling at an attachment point, and I don't want that. I want you to feel this all in the muscle around the shoulder and down the side and in the upper back. Yeah, feels good. Does it feel like you can hold in it and take a deep breath or 2? This can drive breath into stretching some of those intercostals and into those fascial planes. Yeah. I don't know if they're really called planes, but I think of them like that because the fascia runs over all these long flat spaces in our body and through us. All right, release, settle on your belly. Woo, what would feel good? You just want to breathe there, windshield wiper the legs, notice. And then I'm going to bring us into quadricep stretch. And I want to highlight something that I don't often enough, which is that while this is a quadricep stretch, there is an opportunity for a chest stretch and shoulder work as well, but only if we're really conscious about it and allow it to happen. So when you start, I recommend first of all, putting one forearm across the front. Slowly, as you anchor your butt, reaching for that other ankle. And if it's not easy, don't keep reaching because you'll get a hamstring cramp. Stop and I'll come help and get a strap where you can grab one. And then I want you to check in with that shoulder and very intentionally wing the shoulder blade in towards the spine. Then when you're ready, you could press the ankle back into the hand and bring it in towards the butt. So combination of kind of stretching and resistance stretching as an option. Again, if none of that just feels good, feel free to move into, like if you're getting too many pulls at that joint, you can always do a nice stretch massage. Yeah. Yeah. Didn't remember that. Make sure if your knees wing though, that you bring them back in. And so remember, if you're using a strap, you want to lengthen your arm. So you want your arm to go straight. You got it. And then let that shoulder blade go in towards the spine. Yeah. Again, make sure that knee is moving in nicely. Yeah.
Are we in around?
Well, so, yeah, so you get to alternate if you want. You can enjoy the fullness of that quad stretch by bringing the heel as close to your butt. And then you can also add a resistance stretch, which I find very interesting in my quadricep, but also it changes things in my shoulder. And when you feel ready, you'll switch. Remember to let that shoulder blade wing in. Yeah. Arm as straight as it can be. Could be thing. Oh, I know. Okay. Is this side different? And when that feels complete, come on out. Ooh, you might windshield wiper legs. You can move back to child's pose. Notice what's needed. All right. We're going to do a last little round of some fun strengthening and balancing stuff here before we come up to standing. So first of all, our beloved forearm plank for all over body strengthening. You can come from whether you're on your knees or on your belly. You just come onto those forearms. You got it. Step back. And if you prefer, drop down to knees. And this is really key. Can we strengthen in a way that is not striving? I know we can. And I think it just sometimes requires our attention, especially if we are habitual shruggers, strivers, right? So I want you to just find the bliss state inside your power here. You guys all look powerful and peaceful, which is great. What's happening in the mouth? Maybe a soft smile. Yeah, this is a fun place to celebrate, actually, how strong you are. If you're ever looking for kind of a amp up of kind of intensity here, if it doesn't bother your shoulders or wrists, you can go from forearm plank to plank and then back down to forearm. And it's just kind of an interesting movement for the muscles to keep finding center. But again, if you've got sensitive wrists and so on, oh my God. Whew, come on out and let's take flight right away, please, into jet airplane. This is another one where very consciously circling the shoulders down and back, getting that shoulder blade sandwich, very important. Because as you anchor the pelvis, I then invite you to raise the hands off the floor. I don't want the shoulder head rotating forward. Right, I want the broadness to stay in that front as you are in flight. Yeah, and I love doing what many of you are doing right now, inhaling, coming into flight, exhaling, softening. Inhale, flight, no neck tension. Exhaling, softening. Perhaps you're ready to hold. You could just hold and breathe. You could also add a reach and counter reach, one arm forward, one arm back. Again, making sure that you're actually getting your arm karate chop straight. It's not just a kind of wimpy little elbow up there. And would it feel good to just briefly come into Superman, all four limbs? When you release, you might just release to belly. You might move to child's pose, downward dog. Eventually, we're coming up onto our feet. But please take the next half a dozen breaths through that journey of those poses, or however you want to get there. I think learning how to be inside of stuff that's, physically intense and returning to peaceful breath really sets us up for kind of a full state of affairs at the end of the day, where we're not having to, unwind 10,000 layers, right? It's sort of like, trying to come off of a caffeine hit, right? If we've just been like, go, plus caffeine, it's a lot to ask the body like, okay, now, right? So if throughout the day, we're just using this lovely nourishing breath while we're in intense stuff, which you guys just did beautifully, it's magnificent. So we're going to do a little just manual exploration of some of the tension in our chest. And then we just do a last little thing to work out tension in the low body before we come into our resting breath and resting position. This is a favorite and self-massage that I do. I think most of you've done it here with me before. It really helps if you can access your skin. So at the very least, if you've got a tank top and you can get the skin to the outside of it, or again, if you don't have a high neck and you can just get in there more fully, that's easier, because I want you to actually be able to make multiple positions. So I'm going to start with my left hand right below kind of the big muscle part where the shoulder attaches. And I'm going to just put my fingers kind of firmly in towards the body. I'm going to bring my other arm in front. So I've got a half, half goalpost, but I'm in front. I'm going to draw my hand towards the center of the body, and I'm just pulling while I bring the other arm out. Ooh, lots of oohs. Yay. I'm glad you're not bored. And you get to explore. You can continue to make little movements and adjustments, sometimes a little up, a little down, and then, of course, in. And really, any of those points have the potential to bring us up against pretty zingy stuff. Anywhere the fascia layer has gotten sticky, or where your pec or pec minor aren't really moving the way they should. And you can do some circles too. You can also do some actual skin rolling. So sometimes I'll actually pinch, if you will, between my thumb and my fingers, and then just move like a tiller, just move my arm a little back and forward. Yeah. And you might be like, why would we do this? This is very unfun. This has the ability to create mobility through that chest in a way that can really transform neck tension, breathing, you name it. Yeah, being on a bike, being on a computer. I mean, everything we do is so forward. And the problem is a lot of times even if with wall stretching, which can be wonderful, sometimes the stretch goes to the place that's just the easiest and the adhesions kind of stay. This way you're manually touching those areas that are stuck and you're finding out where they are, if they are. Maybe there's somebody out there who has none. So I'm going to again take now my right hand to the left, just to the outside of the bra strap, if you will. And I'm going to kind of press it down and towards the center line while I take that arm to the outside. And sometimes I'll move the head as well. So I'm rotating my head away from the arm, from the moving arm. And we're going to be doing one more, which can be really profound because a lot of the tension in most of us is actually front and side of the neck. It's that silent partner. So again, you could be moving in, you could be doing kind of a pinch and you moving the other arm like a little tiller back and forth. All right. The last one is to get into some of these guys here. And you can even just take your hands, first of all, and kind of say hello to the neck up behind the ear and down around to kind of where the connections are at the collarbone. And so what we're going to be doing, and again, if you can get your hands in so that you have it on the whole skin of the chest, I'm going to keep mine out so you can just sort of see what I'm doing. But I'm drawing down. I've got my fingers right at the collarbone connections here. You can go at the collarbone itself and you can go just down like this and pull down as you reach up through the chin. And again, you can be kind of using the whole palm. You can be gripping in with the fingertips. And as you pull up, you might decide to pause and wag your head just a little left and right. And that might get you into these scalene connections and SCM connections up here and around the jaw. You guys feeling that? It's kind of a shocker, yeah. But I've often worked on this with people and had it totally transform their neck mobility. Yeah.
With your neck, you don't think of that as.
Right, you don't think of this, any attachments here being to the neck or the head, right? Like you're like, this is my chest, this is my neck. Yeah, but we have the skin and of course the fascia layer underneath, and then these very important stabilizers, scalenes and SCM that all attach down into here. So let's just actually kind of close that up by a gentle support with the hands around the neck with a little collar. Plump. And you might just gently move the head in a little half circle. You could also at some point roll it a little to the front. And the body always appreciates opposites, so that little back and forth, that kind of WD-40. And if you want neck, or I mean scalp or face love, temples, go for it. And then lastly, I'm going to bring us into a straddle. Let's face that way. And we're just going to go side to side. Remember, I was talking about those IT bands and you started laying down in the beginning of practice. And so you're going to go side to side here. And at some point, I want you to pause with one leg straight and just take your hand and do kind of a scrubbing. And take your fingers and you kind of cup your fingers and your thumb like you're making a little bowl. And you use those fingers in that strength position. Or if it feels good to release them and just use the thumb as an opposing digit, feel free. What I'm always amazed by is the amount of soreness and tension right up and in here, where the leg connects up into the greater trochanter and all that. It's just like, man. You could also use knuckles, by the way. I mentioned that, but you can kind of just make a fist and use your knuckles to get in there. Yeah, let's explore the other side. When you feel complete with that, inviting you to go even wider and side to side again. And maybe you can go all the way to one side and hold and breathe. How deep can you go? Would it feel good to you to drop your hips? Sometimes this is a nice shape for people to get that extra stretch and let that other foot kind of rotate up towards the ceiling. Use the breath to communicate to these intense thoughts, right? And I know for me, sometimes getting into stretches where there's so much intensity can be a little demoralizing. I'm like, God, it's so tight. But as somebody who witnesses a lot of bodies, let me tell you that we should absolutely all be celebrating the amount of mobility that we have. Touching the floor. Being able to touch the floor, exactly. Being able to let your head hang, being able to spread your feet as wide as they are. There are people who literally go to spread their feet. It's 2.5 feet. That's what they got, you know. Oh, take all the time you like. Notice what you might need as a counter stretch, maybe big glute squeeze. And then I would love to recommend closing with some kind of pigeon pose. So whether you want to do the pigeon alternate pose on the back or a classic pigeon. You know, I steer away from classic pigeon a lot because it can be intense on knees and so on and low back. But really the majority of us are good there as long as you're not doing that thing that I've seen. Just to crank the foot forward and now your knee is at a weird angle. So in my case, if I just do it naturally, my right heel ends up by my left hip bone and I can really get a very enjoyable stretch that way that it doesn't compromise my knee or my low back. So just see what you think. Otherwise, as you know, we've got that nice reclined version that a lot of you are enjoying right now. Deep, steady breath. And without the deep inhale, you're getting maybe 60% of the benefit. Have that deep inhale. Pressure. When you decide to come out, your body might be craving some sort of alternate. Maybe it's, you know, releasing the leg that was bent, giving it a kick, be rolling through the ankle. I'm so proud of looking around. You've got feet flexed without me even like really reminding. We got some serious yogis here. Yes. Love it. Take all the time you like. When you do come out, now's when we assess, right? What do I need to create comfort, a state of awe? Then we would like a bolster to be able to put on the block to recline onto. Yeah, if you need the block under the single triangle before you're really ready to settle, go there. Anybody need anything here at FSC? Okay. And a reminder as you're creating positions at home, it can be marvelous and very restorative if you want to have your feet up the wall or up on a sofa or ottoman. I find that really tends to help ground the low back as well in a nice way. Take all the time you like, and then I'm going to have you move into a breath practice. So I mentioned 3 different ones when we were starting our practice or when we were still in the Dharma talk part, as being pranayama practices that many of us yogis have found helpful to either prepare for sleep or to go back to sleep if our sleep is disrupted. So again, those are the breath blocks, just the simple holding out and then holding in, and we hold as long as we can without it becoming a struggle. We're not interested in this, you know, being a contest and gasping and so on. So it's asking, can I soften around this? The alternate ones would be box breath, the inhaling 4, holding in 4, exhaling 4, holding out 4, or the 4-6-8 breath, often known as relaxation breath. Inhaling 4, holding in 6, releasing 8. Or if you want to try the version I use, it's just inhaling 4, exhaling 8. Give it a try. One of those try. And the tools that we use for introversion here at yoga can also be wonderful lead-ins to a deeper sleep state. So I will often turn my gaze up and in. I'll often then start listening into a little bit of an ujjayi sound. Creates that beautiful white noise and creates a more introverted mind. I might start with the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth, even if I don't maintain that throughout my sleep. And all of these three things help bring me into this moment, this body, this breath. Might also invite a deeper settling of the weight of your body, sinking down and down, down. If you would like to maintain your breath practice throughout the rest of our time, please do. Whereas at some point, if it just feels like the most natural thing, let it go. Bearing witness to the beautiful breath waves rising and settling, eternal, bringing us exactly what we need. Let's begin to deepen your breath. And before you choose to come fully back to the room that we share, the moment, the day that is ahead of you, I'd ask you to just scan your practice, your body for any, takeaways, any awarenesses of, what felt really good and useful. If you, like me, desire to focus on quality of sleep this week, are there any particular things? And maybe it's just very simply trying out the breath practice. Maybe it's noticing that, I do carry a lot of tension. I'm just really tight by the time I try to go to bed at night. Would something like rock pose, that contract and release, feel really good? Or you guys remember last week, the kind of squeeze and release that we did with each arm, like when we were in spinal twist, and we did it standing as well, that really engaged that whole side body and released it. So it might be something we've done at other times, or just even fake yawning, but doing something, rolling wrists and ankles, etc., that helps your body recognize, okay, it's time to let go of the stored tension of the day and to transition. I hope you have fun with it. I hope you have fun being you. Hope you feel great. We have class per usual the next 2 weeks, Tuesday, Thursday, and then there will be no class, no Tuesdays for sure. But I'll give you that and maybe. But there's no class essentially the week after the solstice. So it's the 20, what did we decide? It was the 24th, this is the Tuesday, I think, and then July 1st. So those 2 weeks, there's no class. The one exception to that might be if we're starting up our Thursday nights at Third Mountain in June, and there'll be 3 of them. And if there's enough demand for the Thursday, July 3rd, then I might hold a practice then. But otherwise, there's no practice as we know in a couple of weeks. So I hope you had fun here on the video and joining me in practice. Thank you, both Jeannie and Tracy. Great to see you guys.
Take care.
Yeah, you
Thank
too.
you.
Have an awesome week. Enjoy the springtime wherever you are.
You too. You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.